If you're getting married and you're creating a prenuptial agreement, how do you know when it's valid? Hi, I'm Zachary C. Ashby at Pacific Northwest Family Law. This is going out to everyone who wants or needs or is considering a prenuptial agreement to make sure that this agreement is valid and worth more than just the paper that it's printed on. Now, a prenuptial agreement is an agreement that takes place before the marriage, and there's two basic things that the court looks at to determine whether or not it's enforceable. The first thing is what's called substantive. Fairness. What that means is, absent the agreement, would the court consider the division as described in the prenuptial agreement to be fair? Would it be something within the range of what the court would order absent the agreement? It is another way to say it. Basically, one of the biggest uses for a prenuptial agreement is to streamline the divorce process. So there's not arguing, there's not bickering, there's not a lot of negotiation once the time for the divorce comes. There is, you've made decisions before divorce happens so that everything can go smoothly at the time of divorce, and save time and money for both sides. Some people describe the prenuptial agreement as one of the best things you can do, because you're making it at the time right before marriage, so that your infatuation with the other person will lead you to make a fair agreement for both sides. It's also a good way to see if the other person's going to treat you fairly, I guess. But it's really something that helps out on the other end, something that you hope would never happen. And so the court looks to see, would it be fair? Is it fair? Does it give a division of assets and debts that would be fair in the absence of the agreement? Now, just because it may be unfair or give more to one spouse than it would otherwise without the agreement doesn't defeat it. The other thing, if it doesn't pass a substantive fairness, the other thing the court would look to, is it procedurally fair? Now, what that means is, when it was entered into, did the other party have full access and ability to consider everything in the agreement? Meaning, you've heard stories of these prenuptial agreements where the bride or groom comes in at the practice for the wedding ceremony and says, hey, by the way, we're not doing this unless you sign this prenuptial agreement. And so that would be considered procedurally unfair. Not enforceable in that case, under most circumstances, especially if it's substantively unfair as well. 2 strikes and you're out in this case. The other thing is, was there a full disclosure of all the assets and debts ahead of time? So if you're a secret millionaire and you don't tell your groom or your bride to be, then that would be procedurally unfair as well. That you're hiding a lot of assets, you're hiding your income, your earning potential, your debts, or any other things that you're not having an open disclosure of your finances would tend to defeat it on procedural grounds, because then you would about it in a way that's unfair. The other thing that could be unfair is if you, who is drafting the prenuptial agreement, has an attorney advising you, but you don't allow the other side to also have an attorney. If the other side doesn't also have an attorney, then that would also tend to be procedurally unfair. And the reason is that a prenuptial agreement oftentimes will alter existing law. And in order to do that, the court wants to ensure that both parties understood what they were getting into, that they had a full access to information, and that they fully that they entered into it fully knowing what they were doing, all the rights that they had, or that they were waiving, and the consequences of their actions. A prenuptial agreement, as opposed to other types of contracts, are what are not arm's length contracts, because you have a strong emotional bond that's also would tend to blind most people when right before a wedding or a marriage, because they might be, that is also at the height of when you're trusting another person, and so you tend to not make rational decisions at that point. So these are the two things you look for. So things that we do to make sure that a prenuptial agreement is valid and enforceable is we insist that both sides have attorneys, that there's plenty of time before the wedding, that there's a full disclosure of all assets, and that's actually written out so that both sides can review and see that. And then we make statements like that within the agreement itself, so that everything is above board, open and transparent before anyone signs. If you have any comments, please, or questions, comment below the video, or you can send us questions to info@pnwfamilylaw.com. You can also call us at 509-866-4111. Thank you.